The November 28, 2011 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Antelli? Here. Mr. Beebe? Here. Mrs. Draw? Here. Mr. Eckel? Here. Chairman Hanna?
Here.
Mr. Lee is excused. Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. McCann? Here. Mr. Yolovich?
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum this evening?
There are not.
Is there anyone present who would like to address the committee this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. First item on the agenda is the presentation for the proposed 2012 Monroe County budget. I would like to invite Scott Adair, the Chief Financial Officer, to come up and present the proposed 2012 Monroe County operating budget as it pertains to the Public Safety Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Hanna, for the opportunity this evening to present to you the public safety portion of the County Executive's proposed 2012 budget. This is the second committee that we'll be presenting in front of tonight, and we are still working out some of the kinks as far as the presentation goes, so please bear with me as I move through this. This presentation is solely going to focus on the public safety area of the budget, which is included in the operating and grants portion of the budget. The overall proposed 2012 county budget is balanced. It maintains the property tax rate at a flat $8.99. It complies with the county's Taxpayer Protection Act that was adopted by this body in 2007, and also complies with the New York State property tax cap law, which as a way of background, we are currently working through the calculation on that. We've used some estimates to make sure that we are compliant, realizing that some numbers will change as we get the charges to localities ironed out, and that will, but we are rest assured, this body can rest assured we will be compliant with the state property tax cap. Overall, the public safety area has mandated, non-mandated, and debt service expenses all included in this overall operating budget. The public safety area is the second largest portion of the budget on the expense side. It's approximately 22.1% of the total operating budget of the county. Where does the money come from to pay for public safety activities or the public safety area? It comes from a combination of items. State aid, federal aid support many of the programs, as well as other things such as fines and forfeitures and charges for services such as lab fees and so forth. And ultimately, there is a net county cost, so there is a taxpayer-supported portion of all of the public safety areas. In 2007, the county presented its first grants budget based on the implementation of our new ERP system. Today, the public safety area accounts for approximately 11% of or $18 million of the $172 million grant budget. Again, the grant budget is solely supported by federal and state revenues in this particular area. And ultimately, the 2012 operating budget is broken into two categories, mandated and non-mandated. And again, those percentages have not changed from 2011. 82% of our budget is mandated, 18% is non-mandated. Getting into the area of public safety, this is broken down into 4 different departments. We have the sheriff at 58% of the total $207 million appropriated for these functions. Public safety at 32% of the $207 million. The district attorney's office, 6%. The public defender's office, approximately 4%. And I misspoke, it's $227 million is the total appropriations for this area. That's both operating and grants budget. Getting into the specifics of the public safety areas in the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Department's budget is up approximately $5 million. The majority of the Sheriff's expense is an increase in salaries and benefits. 88% of this $5.1 million increase to the Sheriff's budget is accounted for by increase in employee benefits and personal service costs. 68% of the Sheriff's operations are mandated, and those include the operations of the Jail and Civil Bureau, as well as a contract with the state for court security purposes. Sheriff also has approximately $11.5 million worth of the grant budget, and as I spoke to earlier, while 88% of the increase in the grants or in the overall appropriations for the sheriffs was attributable to salaries and benefits, the personal service costs in the Sheriff's Department are approximately 78% of their budget. As you'll see as we go through each of these particular departments, in public safety it is a very, I'll call it, heavy burden of salaries and benefits. I think it's approximately 64% of their entire budget of the $227 million that we're speaking to tonight is encompassed by salaries and benefits. In the public safety department in and of itself, the appropriations are slightly down in this particular department, $1.6 million. That may cause some concern from folks here, but I'd like to reassure you that the majority of those expenses are because of grants that we have not been able to recognize. Those grants will materialize over the year based on different state and federal funding that comes through and will be approved by this body at those particular times when they're available. So the approximate 1.6 decline in appropriations or expenses will ultimately be made up during the year through grants being recognized by this body. Public Safety Department has 64% of its budget is mandated. It includes the conflict defender, the assigned counsel program, probation, emergency management, and the crime lab. Just going back real quickly, public safety also includes $5.2 million in grants. Public safety's personnel costs are approximately 28% of their total budget. That's the least amount in any of these four areas. In the district attorney's office, we have approximately $14 million in expenditures this year. The budget increase of approximately $300,000 or $350,000 is predominantly, again, due to benefit increases, mainly retirement, and overall salary increases. Again, just to reiterate, in the district attorney's office, 86% of their total appropriations of that $13.9 or $14 million is used in salaries and benefits. The district attorney has a $1.7 million allocation in its grant budget. And again, just as with public safety and with the sheriffs, if additional grants come in during the year, they will be brought forward to this body for approval. The last component, certainly not the least component of public safety, is the public defender's budget. This budget is down approximately $100,000 or $70,000 from last year. To $7.9 million from $8 million last year. And again, this is another area where 88% of its total appropriations are driven by salaries and benefits. They have a grant for $407,000. And ultimately, again, if additional grants are received during the year, they will come before this body for approval. At this time, this concludes my presentation on the public safety area, and we'd be more than willing to take questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Adair, and all those involved in all the departments for putting together these budgets. It's a difficult thing to do this in these times. I'd like to thank also the budget department for all the hard work that they've done over the last several months. From there, we'll move on to questions. Are there any questions for Mr. Adair or any of the department heads at this time? Legislator Beebe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one question overall, just to back up on the budget in regards to public safety to the administration. Could you state again on the amount overall for public safety, the amount of grants, what percentage that is to the overall budget?
Through the chair, the approximate appropriation for grants that relate to public safety is $18.8 million or 10.9%.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Legislator Beebe?
Looking over the county budget here, I have a few questions of concern. I would direct the attention, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, page 260 of the budget. In regards to alternatives to incarceration as being combined with the probation department, it shows the combined spending is down about $400,000. Is alternatives to incarceration being cut again?
Through the chair, can you pinpoint me a little bit closer to where you're talking about in the budget book?
I'm looking at, I'm sorry, page 260. And under appropriations by division, you have alternatives to incarceration from the budget from 2011, and then in 2012 here, there's nothing showing. Is that being cut, or is that being combined with the probation department?
Through the chair, that's being combined with the probation department?
And through the chair to the administration, therefore, that amount, where would we be seeing that for that program now in the budget?
Through the chair, that appropriation for ATI, or alternatives to incarceration, is now included in the probation division.
And through the chair to the administration, being now in the probation section, is there any kind of additional detail that would show exactly how much is being used to running this program, incarceration?
Through the chair, in this particular budget book, no, there is not. I'll just kind of, I guess, cut through the chase. We do have a reduction because of a grant not being recognized at this point in time for alternatives to incarceration, which is the primary reason for a slight reduction. I believe it's around $100,000 or slightly over $100,000 is a grant that's been reduced for 2012. That grant, we'll have to wait to see what the state does or the federal government does regarding reinstating it or bringing it forward in the subsequent year.
All right, thank you. I would like to turn your attention now to page 263 of the budget. And under contractual services, there's quite an increase there of over $1 million. And once again, would this be targeted for the alternatives to incarceration, or what exactly is the contractual services?
Through the chair, you hit it right on the head. That is where ATI, the contract for ATI now resides.
All right, thank you very much. If I could, Mr. Chairman, continue. I'd like to go to page 511 of the budget under communications. And under there is a category labeled as professional services. And looking through this, in 2010 it was $2.8 million. 2011 it was $6.5 million, and for this year's budget, 2012, it's showing 8.5. Through the chair to the administration, can I have an explanation for that increase, please?
Through the chair, that's the contracted payment to the Public Safety LDC.
Through the chair to the administration, and that's the M3S LDC?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go back to page 271 of the budget under performance measures. And under there is a showing repair of pagers and portable radios. And having been in the fire service myself, and also some concerns I've had relayed to me from other various fire organizations here in Monroe County, about the time lag for repairing these pagers and portable radios. Sometimes 30 days on the pagers and 50 days on the radios. Through the chair to the administration, could I receive a little bit of explanation of why it's taking so long to get these repaired?
Through the chair, we're going to, Director Bowman from Public Safety was not available to attend this evening. We'll have to get an answer to that question back to you.
All right, thank you. Through the chair to the administration, is the M3S LDC fully on schedule for replacement of all the systems?
Through the chair, based on my knowledge and information regarding that particular local development corporation, yes, everything is on schedule at this point in time.
All right, thank you. Through the chair to the administration, I would direct your attention to page 698 of the budget. This is under for 911 emergency communications. And on this line, they're showing, hold on a second, quite an increase in the surcharge revenue. In 2010, it was at 1.5, and it's gone up. 2011, it was amended to 2.1 million, and they're projecting 2012 to go up to 3.2 million. Through the chair to the administration, could I receive an explanation of why there seems to be a heavy increase through the last 2 years, or projecting into this year as well?
Through the chair, the increase is due to the anticipation of a wireless surcharge, and I think we spoke about this last year at the budget time, of approximately 30 cents per month that the county, as well as the Association of Counties, is discussing this with the state to make this a surcharge. We are one of 5, I believe it's 5 counties that do not participate in this, to make this an across the state surcharge, so that every county would participate at an equal level, and that is what the increase in this revenue is.
Through the chair to the administration, do you feel that this is going to progress forward? Having been on the 911 operations board, I know this has been a point of contention of discussion several times on receiving this money, and what would it actually have to be the procedural in getting this accomplished?
Through the chair, it's my understanding that this body would have to pass a local law in order for that to go to the state legislature to be approved. We've budgeted conservatively for this increase in the wireless surcharge in anticipation of hopefully the state legislature carrying this for the 5 other counties across the state that do not have this presently, to put us all on equal footing. As you realize, as being part of that 911 board, the necessity of, or the increase in activity because of cellular callers to the 911 center really necessitates a level playing field for all counties to have as far as the funding for the 911 center goes, and this would help move in that direction.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair to the administration, what you're talking about then is that this body here needs to put forth a home rule.
Through the chair, I was just corrected. Yes, it would be a home rule. Sorry.
All right, thank you. And also, after that has been put through here by the legislators, through the chair to the administration, what kind of legislative action has to be incorporated on the state level?
Through the chair, that would be an approval by the state legislature and ultimately signed by the governor at that point in time.
So I'm anticipating, this is just an opinion or observation, that we need to, as a legislative body here, to entice our legislators on the state level to get on board here and get this accomplished. Also, in regards to the 911 surcharge, it would be great that there would be something included in the home rule, as well as the legislative body on the state making sure that when the state receives these revenues, that they do appropriately bring them back to the communities in a proper amount and not be using it for other purposes. But that's another discussion for another day. I have a couple more questions, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to the administration, going back to probation and alternatives incarceration divisions being combined, is this going to cause a reduction in the personnel or positions? And if so, which ones?
Through the chair, it is not anticipated that this would cause a reduction to positions in those areas.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Beebe. Are there any other questions? Legislator Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To you, Mr. Chairman, through the administration, excuse me, the judicial system, page 514 is what I'm referring to, is the 3.3 million of rent, taxes, and utilities, all related to the Appellate Division building. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, that would be correct.
Okay, thank you. Additionally, through you, Mr. Chairman, are there any professional or commercial services also related to the Appellate building? Do we pay for cleaning or any other type of services? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, yes, we do. It's part of the commercial services line of that budget.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you said that can be fined under the commercial services line in the budget?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Additionally, through you, Mr. Chairman, Central Police Support Services, page 274. Basically, I'm trying to look at what is this expenditure paying for, like all police departments, and can it be a chargeback? Page 274 to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, yes, the majority of the expense is for police training, I think through the PSTF with MCC, and in conjunction with other expenses such as the firearms range, which I believe is a referral that this body has approved just recently. And I think, as we've talked about before, cell phone services for the MDTs in each of the police vehicles across the county is also included in this particular area.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, the weights and measures, page 279, expenses exceeded revenue by $138,584. Should fees be increased to cover the loss? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, what I would say there is that while we do look at fines and fees regarding this area, I believe that some of them are state regulated. Ultimately, this is the net county support, or the dollars that are used from our tax levy to support this particular function. And it has increased slightly, but I do know as part of our annual process of looking at the budget, we look for different revenue sources, such as fines and fees, to offset what would be a net county support item. And at this point in time, we do not believe that there is an ability to raise any of those based on our past history.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, under Civil Bureau, page 385. Basically, the question here is there any hope of us breaking even on the Civil Bureau, or is there any possibility of fees being raised if it's not possible to break even? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, again, this is something that we look at each year, and Civil Bureau fees, I believe, are also set by this particular body. And we do look at the actual collections of those revenues each year to determine how much can be used to offset what the net county support is, or the taxpayer dollars that are being used. This year, as you can see from the budget, we've increased that by $100,000 based on what the actual activity has been over the last 3 or 4 years. So we do believe that we will continue to strive to lessening that burden, but at this point in time, this is our best estimate as to what that burden will be based on the current rate structure within inside of the Civil Bureau.
So it's safe to say that, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, as we look at these, and we're constantly real-time adjusting, if you will, based on possibilities of fees. I know we don't want to raise fees, but there could potentially be room to do that, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Is that correct?
Through the chair, real time is relevant here just because of the fact that we do have to produce this document at a certain point in time. So at the point in time when we produce this document, we do our best guess is to estimate conservatively what the revenues will be for each of the functions. As I'm reading through the notes here, these are state mandated fees, so we would need a change at the state level to effectively collect more from this. But this is our best estimate as to what these revenues are, and we do believe that we will succeed in collecting the $900,000 in Civil Bureau fees in 2012.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, under Police Bureau title, page 387, gross and net costs are each up $2.5 million. Gross costs are up 7.4%, net costs up 7.7%. With this debt service being down $276,000, personal costs are up 4.5%. Why so much? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, that's a great question. And while debt service is down in this particular area, basically by the effectively paying debt off for items that were capital in nature for the Police Bureau, ultimately this is an area where I believe it's last year, we did not have any academies for the Sheriff's Department, and this year we are planning for that academy, and that is included in these personal service costs. And I believe that that is tentatively scheduled with the approval of this budget that a Sheriff's Department academy would begin in February of 2012. I believe it's late February, maybe early March.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, the no academy for last year as a result of no jobs available, or why no academy last year? An anticipated academy this year, why the difference? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, again, that's a call that we work with the Sheriff's Department closely on to determine what the need is for an academy. And the sheriff at the point in time last year when they were putting the budget together thought with controlling some other costs that they could effectively maintain their workforce during last year. We were not in a position to be able to put, and I'm just going to use an approximate number of 30 people through the academy if my memory serves me correctly. This year the sheriff was very emphatic about the fact that he could not go another year without an academy, and so we've determined that that is the appropriate course of action. Ultimately, the way that I've learned this to go is the academy is approximately 10 months, so by the time these people get completed with the academy and out the door, they'll effectively be filling the holes provided through retirements in 2012, so that particular table of organization from the Sheriff's Department will not be reduced in any subsequent year's budget. And as each year goes by, we determine with the assistance of the sheriffs and the Sheriff's Department based on their need and various factors regarding retirement, whether there's incentives offered, what have you, to determine whether or not we will have an academy each year.
Well, I'm excited to hear that through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, because I know currently right now the Rochester Police Department is doing hiring, the Rochester Fire Department is currently hiring, and so it's good to see, especially in this economy, those type of civil service jobs that we know are still good jobs to this day, that Monroe County, the Sheriff Department would also be looking to do some hiring next year as well, too, so I'm excited about that. Just a few more questions, if you bear with me, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Page 543, the cost of temporary help is up $335,670, which is 38% since 2010. And my question to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration is why?
Through the chair, that was page 543?
Yes, sir.
Through the chair, I apologize. The increase in temporary help in this particular area is due to the addition of, I believe it's either 7 or 8 part-time parks deputies in this budget, which will be part of that recruitment class that goes into effect as soon as this budget is passed.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, under Jail Bureau, page 392, gross costs are up $4.2 million, which is 6%. Net costs are up $3.6 million, which is 5.6%. Personal costs are up 4.6%, and the question to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration is why so much?
Through the chair, again, another great question in our jail bureau. It is also anticipated that the Sheriff's Department will be holding a jail academy this year, which would go along with the same principle as the Sheriff's Police Bureau Academy. The difference here is the jail academy is scheduled to start in January with the execution of this budget, and that is expected to last approximately 6 months before these folks would be ready to go into the jail to provide services in that facility.
With both of these, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, academies and or recruit classes going through, do we have an approximate number of how many sheriffs as opposed to how many jailers that we're looking to potentially hire in 2012? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, I'm going to answer this before Paul sits down, so he can hit me if I get the wrong answer. But I believe it's 30 on both sides, both in the jail and on the police bureau side would be 30 individuals,
Okay.
roughly.
Thank you. Court security, page 396, to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. How is the cost dropping, especially in personnel?
Through the chair, that is effectively what's happening there is court security has abolished 8 positions in this budget that were vacant last year, and ultimately that's where the 8, if you look at their full-time equivalents, you'll see that their full-time equivalents haven't changed between years from 2011 to 2012. The 8 reduction here is the same 8 that's being picked up in the part-time parks sheriff's patrol.
Okay, I just have 2 questions, and I'm done, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, district attorney, page 370, how much was collected in unpaid taxes in 2010 under the Crimes Against Revenue Persecution effort? Finishing my question to you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, $695,000 through the end of 2009 on page 373, and we're looking at what the trend is here.
Through the chair, I'm going to call for reinforcements on this one. Through the chair, I'm being told by the district attorney that it's approximately $140,000 for this year at this point in time, and we're the second largest receiver of those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Since we do have our dear district attorney here, nice to see you. Thank you for answering that question. I have one more concerning the district attorney's office. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. The list of assigned county cars always shows 10 or so for the district attorney. Just the question is, we understand that 3 or 4, but why so many cars the district attorney's office have? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, the cars in our office are assigned in 2 areas. One are our investigators. They're out serving subpoenas, picking witnesses up every day, and they use county cars to do that. And secondly, attorneys who are on call. There's 3 attorneys on call in the homicide rotation. There's an attorney on call for fatal DWIs, and those attorneys who are on call use county cars as well.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lightfoot. Are there any other questions this evening? Mr. Eckel?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. On public safety under probation, page 507, through you, Mr. Chair, to the administration, is a line rental of space, $430,260. Is this rental of space for the Wegman building?
Through the chair, this is for a rental space of 80 West Main Street. I'm not, I don't know if the title of that is the Wegman building or not, but it's 80 West Main Street.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, is probation still in there? I thought they had cleared out of that space.
Through the chair, there are services, probationary services that are in there. And pretrial services, I believe, is one of them. I had a list, and I can't seem to find the folder that had that, but that is one of them, as well as the conflict defender's office is in there as well. And there's some mental health services being provided out of that facility as well.
Okay, thank you. And are all of those services county services, or are there other groups providing services through there? I know the mental health, I believe, is Catholic Family Center.
Through the chair, I don't believe Catholic Family Center is in that building any longer. Okay. I believe it's another organization, and I believe it's primary services is the one that rings a bell with me. But I can find that out for you. All of them are county services that are being provided in that facility. However, they're not all county employees, and this is a standard line of questioning that we go down every year.
Yes, yes.
And effectively, I can run you down through there are 30, approximately, on the first and second floors, 32 non-county employees. The third floor is effectively all county employees with the conflict defender's office. The fourth floor is priority services and the social legal center, which are all mental health facilities, which are contracted agencies through CCSI. Ultimately, all of these non-county employees are providing a county service, and ultimately the vendor that's providing them to us is not charging us rent as if they were in a building on State Street. They would charge us rent as part of that contract, and so ultimately we are providing them space so that we can provide more services to individuals rather than eating up the appropriation in a charge for rent.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think that's about all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Eckel. Are there any other questions this evening?
After Legislator Beebe has questions, there are some more. We had several, but I'm wondering after we finish our preliminary questions here, if we'll be able to send the ones that we don't ask today to just for further to the administration to get their questions answered at a later date, just to save us time, not to belabor some of the things that were pertinent we asked tonight. But after, obviously, Legislator Beebe asks his question, if we do have further ones, can we send them in to get questions answered?
Through the chair, since we sort of had a side bet over here at the table as to how late we were going to be here tonight, I'd rather you ask the questions now. Obviously, I had a later time than this. But yes, absolutely. If you want to submit questions in writing to us, we'd be more than willing to answer those.
Thank you.
For Wednesday for that, Paul.
Legislator Beebe.
Mr. Chairman, I just have about three more questions I have come up with here. Going back to the consolidating probation department and ATI divisions, in the agency contracts line there, when you show the increase, but if you look at the total amount of the agency contracts now, it's actually decreased by $112,637. Through the chair to the administration, is this could you explain why this is a decrease? And I'm looking for an answer toward the pretrial services, if this is a cut or not. Thank you.
Through the chair, as we spoke about in the presentation, and I think I answered earlier, the reduction here is simply a grant not being recognized at this point in time. So if and when that grant is approved by the state and/or federal government, we will come back before this body for that appropriation to be included. And that effectively is the majority of that 112. I know that there are some ebbs and flows of other numbers in there, but effectively that's the largest component of it.
All right, thank you. Through the chair to the administration, I guess to reword the question then in regards to pretrial services, in the grand scheme of this budget, is there any notation showing that there is a decrease in that this year?
Through the chair, the answer to that would be no.
All right, thank you. On page 277 of the budget, under the Office of Emergency Management, there was a significant decrease, total appropriations, by 80%, over $3 million. And, you know, that's in regards to equipment, technical supplies, and agency contracts. Through the chair to the administration, can you define what equipment purchases were made, and also what ones they don't anticipate purchase for?
Through the chair, the reduction here is because of grants not being recognized. There's a number of them. Probably the majority of that is $2.7 million worth of Homeland Security grants, all approved during 2011. And again, we would anticipate those grants or grants similar to them to purchase equipment to come back through in 2012. But as everyone sitting here is well aware of the financial constraints that both the state and the federal government have at this particular time, this budget shows what we are without those grants, which we don't have the ability to recognize. We could provide a list of the equipment. It would simply be looking back at the resolutions that were approved previously in 2011 by this body regarding what those dollars were spent on.
All right, thank you. I guess what I'm looking at through the chair to the administration, is there any part of this line item in the budget that's directly a result from the M3S LDC deal?
Through the chair, no.
All right, thank you. Also, in page 277, under the Office of Emergency Management, under revenues, the federal revenues have plummeted quite a bit. It's showing in 2010 1.3 million, 3.2 million in 2011, and it's gone all the way down to 272,000. Could you explain the reason for this cut, please?
Certainly. Again, grants that have not been recognized, as I just stated earlier, $2.7 million worth of Homeland Security grants was all federal aid that came in 2011. And again, hopefully we will see those dollars reappear in 2012, but we have no guarantees at this point.
I love your optimism on that. All right, one last question. In regards to the Public Defender Office, through the chair to the administration, on page 220, in the organizational structure of the Public Defender's Office, it appears that the parolee program has been eliminated or shifted to some other unknown division in the Defender's Office. I'd like to have an explanation if this program is no longer there, or is it, where else is it in the Public Defender's Office structure?
Through the chair, that indigent parolee program was a grant that was canceled, and we have been notified of the cancellation of that grant, so that is why it does not appear in this particular slide of the budget book.
All right, thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Are there any other questions this evening? Legislator Eckel.
Thank you very much, sir. Under the Sheriff's Office, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, Does the administration have plans to outsource some responsibilities of court deputies, i.e., like metal detectors, scanners, to private companies?
Through the chair, I'm not exactly sure what page you're on, but I know with firsthand knowledge that there is no anticipation of outsourcing those services.
Thank you very much. Also under Sheriff's Office on page 387 and 544, personnel costs for the Police Bureau are relatively flat with an only 4.3% increase in appropriation, while employee benefits are seeking $1.1 million, which is a 12.2% increase. The majority appears to be from a significant increase in retirement costs. Is this a result from people taking advantage of the early retirement program? Because the page 56 shows the Sheriff's Department only losing one FTE.
Through the chair, unfortunately, this county did not participate in an early retirement incentive as was offered by the state. I'm not 100% sure that the Sheriff's Department pension was even eligible for that during this past year. What this is significantly increased cost for retirement from the New York State retirement systems, simply put.
So the increase for retirement was approximately 12% of the total cost, or of the total increase?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. So this isn't going to affect road patrol officers at all, except for the retirement benefit cost to them. We won't be losing any road patrol officers through this increase or decrease.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Through the chair, the chart on page 393 for the Jail Bureau illustrates the average daily jail population declining. However, upon review, the number given in the caption is an increase of from 1,437 to 1,465. Is the number accurate and the chart illustrating the decline incorrect, or vice versa?
Through the chair, I'm going to go with your first answer. I believe that the number is accurate and the chart is inaccurate. I apologize for that.
Thank you. And the Jail Bureau, page 392 and 547. Through the chair, the personnel costs for this division are projected to increase by $1 million for the line item salaries. Is this due to wage increases for existing personnel or additional hires?
Through the chair, as we discussed with Legislator Lightfoot, this is predominantly the jail academy and the potential hiring of roughly 30 jail deputies.
Okay, and because the total sheriff's office is set to increase by only one FTE, so most of those new hires are going to go to unfilled positions that are opened up through retirement, et cetera, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Eckel?
All right, you asked for it. Final question, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration that I have anyway. For the probation, what is the current caseload for probation officers? How does this compare to the caseload burden for 2011? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, Bob Burns from the Office of Probation. The caseloads vary throughout the agency based on specialized programs, level of intensity, level of risk of the offender, but the average probation officer on the adult system right now is about 120, 125 per officer. We don't expect a change in 2012.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, I'm assuming that's 120 per officer per year. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, that's actually it's a constant number. People are placed on probation for 1, 3, 5, 10 years.
I got you. Okay. How many probation officers, full-time probation officers, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, do we currently employ in the county?
I believe approximately 110 or 113. I can check that, though.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions this evening? Seeing none, I would like to thank Mr. Adair for his presentation and thank everybody in all of the departments for all their hard work once again. and we will move on. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the October 24th, 2011 minutes before you. They'll stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any change by the end of the day. Next item is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 11-254, amend resolution.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator McCann. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-255,
Moved by Legislator McCann, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
referral 11-256, authorize.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Antelli. Is there any discussion? No? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-257,
Moved by Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Draw. Is there any discussion? Legislator Beebe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to the administration, what's the life expectancy of a bulletproof vest?
Through the chair, Jennifer Curley from the Sheriff's Office. We generally replace them every 3 years, but I think they have a life expectancy of 5 years, but with all the snow and ice, we would do them every 3.
All right, thank you very much. And through the chair to the administration, in regards to this referral, the grant, it's decreased almost $30,000 from last year's. Is this going to hurt trying to do a proper replacement if you want to keep that 3 years rotation?
Through the chair, because we didn't hire anyone last year, I still have some funding left in there from last year that I can use. So next year is when I'm going to have to ask, hopefully get more. And that money was sitting in there, and the U.S. Department of Justice won't give me more until I've used it. So if we're not hiring new police officers, I can't draw down the funds. So it sits there until I hire new people.
I understand. Through the chair to the administration, in your opinion, then everyone is properly supplied right now with a bulletproof vest in our Sheriff's Department?
Through the chair, that's correct.
All right, thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-258, acceptance.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator McCann. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-259, authorize.
Moved by Legislator McCann, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Legislator Beebe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. In regards to the total amount on the contract amount, how does this compare to last year's amount through the chair to the administration?
Through the chair, Peggy Duffy from the Department of Public Safety. It compares, basically it's up a little bit from last year due to the arrests being up in 2010.
All right, thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-260, acceptance of a grant.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Antelli. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-261, acceptance.
Moved by Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Draw. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-262, acceptance of a grant.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator McCann. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 11-288, amend resolution to,
Moved by legislator McCann, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, item carries. Next item on the agenda is other matters. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? Legislator Beebe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to, at this time, thank everybody here on the committee, as well as yourself and the administration. I've enjoyed being on this committee for 4 years. I've learned a lot, obviously, having been a firefighter, and appreciate all the things that we've been able to accomplish here to make sure that our agencies are well protected and have good equipment. And I'm very proud to have served on this, and look forward to probably still helping out wherever I can.
Thank you, Mr. Beebe. We'd like to thank you for your insight, your good questions. We appreciate your service, and we wish you well. Same to you, Mr. Eckel. We thank you for all your service and your insight, and wish you well as well. Any other matters? Legislator Yolovich.
Yes, as a matter of information, Mr. Chairman, through you, to any interested parties, due to the lateness of this committee, I will convene the agenda charter at 6:10.
At 6:10. Thank you. Is there any other matters to come before the committee? Seeing none, this meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be announced at a future date.